I believe in the foundations of health more than most people, but I will never reduce someone's metabolic disease to laziness. Let me be very clear about something. I believe in the foundations of health. Nutrition matters, exercise matters, protein matters, micronutrients matter, sleep matters, hydration matters, stress regulation matters, sunlight matters, muscle matters, daily habits matter. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I also have a master's in nutrition and human performance and a bachelor's in biology. I spent years in the military, law enforcement, performance, stress, training, discipline, recovery, and human behavior. So yes, I understand the foundations, probably more deeply than most people arguing about them online. But here's the problem. Some people take the word foundations and turn it into a weapon. They use it to shame people. They say, just eat better, just exercise, just stop eating junk, just have discipline, just try harder. That may sound simple, but it's not medicine. And it's not wisdom. Because people are not just walking food logs. They're not just willpower machines. They're human beings living inside biology, stress, trauma, sleep debt, pain, medications, hormones, inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, family history, work schedule, finances, food environments, and years of failed attempts, just to name a few. You do not know someone's whole story from a comment section. You do not know their sleep. You don't know their labs. You don't know their insulin resistance, their liver health, their menopause status, their medications, their history of dieting, their pain, their trauma, their relationship with food. And you do not know how many times they have tried. And this is why I have very little patience for people who shame others under the banner of health. That's not health. That's just ego. Now, does that mean everyone needs peptides? No, absolutely not. That's not what I teach. Peptides are not a free pass. Again, they're not magic. They're not a replacement for nutrition, training, sleep, or patient responsibility. But peptides can be extremely useful in modern medicine when they're used correctly. Why? Because peptides are biological signals. They can help influence appetite signaling, glucose handling, inflammation, tissue repair, immune regulation, mitochondrial function, the barrier function, neuroendocrine rhythm, recovery capacity, body composition, and metabolic adaptation. That doesn't mean you throw peptides at every symptom. That's not Praxis. Praxis teaches beyond symptoms. We ask, what is a pattern? What system is struggling? What signal is missing, distorted, overactive, underactive, resistant, or just poorly timed? What evidence supports a decision? What risks matter? What foundations are broken? What has to be monitored? And what is the plan to eventually need less support, not more? That last part matters because people say once you start peptides, you have to stay on them forever. That's barely ever true. Some medications may require long-term use in some patients. Some peptide-based therapies may be chronic tools for chronic disease. But many peptide strategies should be thought of as signals used for a season, a phase, or a specific biological purpose. The goal is not dependence. The goal is correction. The goal is to use the right signal at the right time while rebuilding the system underneath it. For example, if someone uses a metabolic peptide and finally reduces food noise, loses visceral fat, improves glucose control, builds muscle, improves sleep, lowers inflammation, and learns how to eat properly, that person may come out with a different biology from when they started. If someone uses a repair-focused peptide while also improving load management, protein intake, sleep, rehab, and inflammation control, the goal is not to stay injured forever. The goal is to help the tissue recover and restore function. Someone uses a peptide to help regulate an inflammatory or immune pattern while also fixing gut health, sleep, stress, nutrient status, and other triggers. The goal is not endless intervention. The goal is better regulation. That's the difference between using peptides as a shortcut and using them as a clinical tool. A shortcut avoids the work. A tool helps the work finally matter. That is the part people miss. Sometimes people are not avoiding effort. Sometimes their biology is blocking the return on effort. They are exercising and still inflamed. They're eating better and still insulin resistant. Sleeping more and still not recovering. Dieting and losing muscle instead of restoring metabolism. Trying hard and still fighting appetite signals, stress signals, pain signals, and inflammatory loops. In those cases, the answer is not shame. The answer is better medicine. And better medicine does not choose better foundations and peptides. It integrates them. Foundations create the environment. Peptides provide targeted signals. Monitoring tells us if the body's responding. And the patient becomes more organized, more educated, and more capable over time. That is the goal. Not to create patients who need more and more things. The goal is to help people become metabolically stronger, more resilient, less inflamed, better regulated, and more capable of maintaining health with fewer interventions. That is what I mean when I say use the signal to correct the system. A peptide is not the destination. It's a conversation with the body. And if the conversation is successful, the body should become better at doing what it was struggling to do. Again, a better appetite regulation, better glucose control, better repair, better recovery, better immune balance, tissue resilience, metabolic flexibility, better function. That is not laziness. That is medicine. And we need to get rid of the stigma that using peptides means someone's weak, lazy, undisciplined, or looking for a way out. The stigma is usually created by people who are looking at everyone through the same narrow lens. They see one tool and call it a crutch. They see one medication and assume failure. They see one overweight patient and assume low willpower. They see one peptide and assume a shortcut. That is not depth. That's bias. And bias is not clinical wisdom. Real medicine requires humility. You need to understand the person, the pattern, the physiology, the risk, foundations, the signal, the monitoring, the long-term plan. So yes, I believe in nutrition. I believe in training. I believe in sleep and discipline. I believe in personal responsibility. But I also believe in biology. And I refuse to shame people for needing help correcting a system that has been dysregulated for years. Peptide medicine, when used correctly, is not about bypassing foundations. It's about matching the right signal to the right system while rebuilding the foundations underneath it. That is the future of medicine. Not shortcuts, not shame, not one-size-fits-all advice. Systems, signals, responsibility, and better decisions.